Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A variation that deviates from the standard or norm. The act of departing. Euphemistic expressions for death. A variation that deviates from the standard or norm. The deviation from the mean. Deviate behavior. A turning aside of your course or attention or concern. The difference between an observed value and the expected value of a variable or function. The error of a compass due to local magnetic disturbances. A variation that deviates from the standard or norm. The number that remains after subtraction. The number that when added to the subtrahend gives the minuend. A disagreement or argument about something important. There were irreconcilable differences. A significant change. The difference in her is amazing. The quality of being unlike or dissimilar. There are many differences between jazz and rock. A difference between conflicting facts or claims or opinions. A growing divergence of opinion. An infinite series that has no limit. A variation that deviates from the standard or norm. The act of moving away in different direction from a common point. An angle is formed by the divergence of two straight lines. The act of departing. Euphemistic expressions for death. Advancing toward a goal. Persuading him was easy-going. In full operation. A going concern. The act of departing. The act of departing. Move out of or depart from. An opening that permits escape or release. Pass from physical life and lose all bodily attributes and functions necessary to sustain life. Euphemistic expressions for death. Lose the lead. The act of going out. The act of expelling air from the lungs. A coming to an end of a contract period. Euphemistic expressions for death. The amount by which the cost of a business exceeds its revenue. The company operated at a loss last year. Military personnel lost by death or capture. The disadvantage that results from losing something. His loss of credibility led to his resignation. Euphemistic expressions for death. Gradual decline in amount or activity. Weight loss. Something that is lost. The car was a total loss. The act of losing someone or something. Everyone expected him to win, so his loss was a shock. The experience of losing a loved one. He sympathized on the loss of their grandfather. Lasting a very short time. A passing fancy. Hasty and without attention to detail, not thorough. A passing glance. A bodily reaction of changing from one place or stage to another. The passing of flatus. Success in satisfying a test or requirement. His future depended on his passing that test. Going by something that is moving in order to get in front of it. She drove but her reckless passing of every car on the road frightened me. Of advancing the ball by throwing it. A team with a good passing attack. To an extraordinary degree. She was a surpassingly beautiful woman. Euphemistic expressions for death. Thousands mourned his passing. The motion of one object relative to another. Stellar passings can perturb the orbits of comets. American football. A play that involves one player throwing the ball to a teammate. The coach sent in a passing play on 3rd and long. Allowing you to pass, e.g., an examination or inspection, satisfactorily. A passing grade. The end of something. The passing of winter. Part with a possession or right. Let something fall or spill from a container. Music. The act or manner of terminating a musical phrase or tone. A device that when pressed will release part of a mechanism. Activity that frees or expresses creative energy or emotion. The act of liberating someone or something. Grant freedom to. Free from confinement. Make assets available. Release the holdings in the dictator's bank account. Release, as from one's grip. Release, gas or energy, as a result of a chemical reaction or physical decomposition. A legal document evidencing the discharge of a debt or obligation. The act of allowing a fluid to escape. Prepare an issue for public distribution or sale. Eliminate a substance. The plant releases a gas. The termination of someone's employment, leaving them free to depart. Make information available for publication. Release the list with the names of the prisoners. An announcement distributed to members of the press in order to supplement or replace an oral presentation. Euphemistic expressions for death. Generate and separate from cells or bodily fluids. Release a hormone into the bloodstream. A formal written statement of relinquishment. A process that liberates or discharges something. There was a sudden release of oxygen. Merchandise issued for sale or public showing, especially a record or film. A new release from the London Symphony Orchestra. The quality of being unsteady and subject to changes. He kept a record of price fluctuations. An instance of change, the rate or magnitude of change. A wave motion. The fluctuations of the sea. An activity that varies from a norm or standard. Any variation in his routine was immediately reported. The angle, at a particular location, between magnetic north and true north. Ballet. A solo dance or dance figure. Biology. An organism that has characteristics resulting from chromosomal alteration. Something a little different from others of the same type. An emery wheel is the modern variation of a grindstone. An instance of change, the rate or magnitude of change. An artifact that deviates from a norm or standard. He patented a variation on the sandal. A repetition of a musical theme in which it is modified or embellished. Astronomy. Any perturbation of the mean motion or orbit of a planet or satellite, especially a perturbation of the Earth's moon. The act of changing or altering something slightly but noticeably from the norm or standard. Who is responsible for these variations in taxation? The process of varying or being varied. Pretend to have certain qualities or state of mind. He acted the idiot. Behave unnaturally or affectedly. She's just acting. Something that people do or cause to happen. A legal document codifying the result of deliberations of a committee or society or legislative body. Perform an action, or work out or perform an action. Think before you act. A short performance that is part of a longer program. He did his act 3 times every evening. Perform on a stage or theater. She acts in this play. Have an effect or outcome, often the one desired or expected. How does your idea work in practice? Behave in a certain manner. Show a certain behavior, conduct or comport oneself. You should act like an adult. Play a role or part. She wants to act Lady Macbeth, but she is too young for the role. A manifestation of insincerity. He put on quite an act for her benefit. A subdivision of a play or opera or ballet. Be engaged in an activity, often for no particular purpose other than pleasure. Be suitable for theatrical performance. This scene acts well. Discharge one's duties. She acts as the chair. Something that people do or cause to happen. Something that people do or cause to happen. Something that people do or cause to happen. A legal document signed and sealed and delivered to effect a transfer of property and to show the legal right to possess it. He signed the deed. The time at which life ends, continuing until dead. She stayed until his death. The time when something ends. It was the death of all his plans. The event of dying or departure from life. Her death came as a terrible shock. A final state. The absence of life or state of being dead. He seemed more content in death than he had ever been in life. The act of killing. He had 2 deaths on his conscience. The permanent end of all life functions in an organism or part of an organism. The animal died a painful death. The personification of death. Pass from physical life and lose all bodily attributes and functions necessary to sustain life. The event of dying or departure from life. Upon your decease, the capital will pass to your grandchildren. A coming to an end of a contract period. The expiry of his driver's license. The event of dying or departure from life. The state of being flexed, as of a joint. Deviation from a straight or normal course. Act of bending a joint, especially a joint between the bones of a limb so that the angle between them is decreased. The state of being flexed, as of a joint. Deviation from a straight or normal course. A manner of speaking in which the loudness or pitch or tone of the voice is modified. The patterns of stress and intonation in a language. Deviation from a straight or normal course. A change in the form of a word, usually by adding a suffix, to indicate a change in its grammatical function. A difference between conflicting facts or claims or opinions. An activity that varies from a norm or standard. Discord that splits a group. An event that departs from expectations. The quality of being subject to variation. An official dispensation to act contrary to a rule or regulation, typically a building regulation. A zoning variance. The second moment around the mean. The expected value of the square of the deviations of a random variable from its mean value. An event that departs from expectations. Biology. A group of organisms within a species that differ in trivial ways from similar groups. A variable quantity that is random. Something a little different from others of the same type. A variant of the same word. Differing from a norm or standard. A variant spelling. Exhibiting variation and change. Letters variant in size. The deviation, by a vessel or aircraft, from its intended course due to drifting. A difference between conflicting facts or claims or opinions. An event that departs from expectations. Humorous or satirical mimicry. A composition that imitates or misrepresents somebody's style, usually in a humorous way. A departure, especially of airplanes. The initial ascent of an airplane as it becomes airborne. A method of birth control in which coitus is initiated but the penis is deliberately withdrawn before ejaculation. Avoiding emotional involvement. A retraction of a previously held position. The termination of drug taking. Formal separation from an alliance or federation. The act of ceasing to participate in an activity. The act of taking out money or other capital. The act of withdrawing. The withdrawal of French troops from Vietnam. The act of withdrawing blood, tumors, etc. The nurse was expert at the withdrawal of blood. The act of passengers and crew getting aboard a ship or aircraft. A structure of boards.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.